Pop icon Connie Francis has died at the age of 87. She took the music world by storm more than 70 years ago, and you may recall just recently had a resurgence of fame on TikTok when her hit song, Pretty Little Baby, went viral.
At the height of her fame, Connie Francis was the golden voice of a generation, with hits like Who's Sorry Now enchanting millions. But behind the spotlight, her story was far darker, marked by shocking secrets, betrayal, and a devastating assault that nearly ended everything. What led to the loss of her voice and the unraveling of her world? Few stars have faced such relentless turmoil, yet refused to be silenced. From mafia connections to heartbreaking personal losses and brutal industry realities, Connie's life reveals a hidden war fought far from the glamorous stage. The hidden costs of stardom. Connie Francis was a shining star in America's golden age of music, celebrated for her crystal-clear voice and timeless hits. To her fans, she was the embodiment of charm and success. But beneath this glamorous veneer lay a world of hidden struggles. Fame brought with it relentless pressures and burdens that were often invisible to the public eye. Her dazzling rise masked a life fraught with emotional heartbreak, personal betrayals, and dark secrets that threatened to undo her. The music industry offered opportunity, but it also came with a steep price. Behind the scenes, Connie encountered challenges far removed from the applause and spotlight. The relentless demand to maintain perfection wore on her spirit, while the industry's merciless nature exposed vulnerabilities few could see. Her journey wasn't just about chart-topping success. It was a battle with forces determined to keep certain truths in shadows. What made Connie's story especially tragic was how quickly fortune could turn to misfortune. The very gifts that propelled her to international fame were tested by events and connections far beyond a singer's usual trials. The public never fully grasped the depth of the crises she faced, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Her experience reveals a stark contrast between celebrity sparkle and personal pain. One of the harshest blows came on a night in 1974 that would change everything. The assault she suffered didn't just harm her body, it shattered her confidence and derailed her artistic trajectory. This traumatic event was only one thread in a complex web of hardship, underscoring the vulnerability behind even the most luminous careers. The music world's facade of glamour hid a darker reality that Connie knew all too well. Even as she fought to rebuild, Connie's relationship with those closest to her was strained under the weight of expectation and trauma. The industry's cold mechanisms often left her isolated, with family and loved ones unable to fully grasp the toll she endured. The gap between public adoration and private despair grew wider, creating fractures that were difficult to mend. Adding to the complexity was a tangled association with dangerous elements outside the entertainment sphere. Connie's family ties brought her proximity to a world where loyalty and survival came at steep costs. These connections surfaced in tragic ways, complicating her personal story and amplifying the challenges she faced in reclaiming her life and voice. Her narrative challenges the simplified stories we often accept about stardom. It exposes how fame can mask profound suffering and how public success does not guarantee personal peace. Connie's struggles illuminate the shadowed side of the entertainment industry, where dreams are forged but can quickly fracture. Though the full scope of her battles would unfold over time, one thing was clear: Connie Francis's journey was shaped by forces far beyond just music, weaving heartbreak and resilience into a complicated legacy. The story of a star fighting not just for acclaim, but for survival, was only beginning to emerge. Beneath this storm of hidden costs lay the roots of a remarkable life, starting from a vibrant neighborhood and a precocious talent destined for greatness. Early life and breakthrough. Born Conetta Rosa Maria Franconero, Connie's early years were shaped by a rich cultural tapestry and a supportive family that recognized her gifts. Growing up in an Italian Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn and New Jersey, she was exposed to multiple languages, including English, Hebrew, and Yiddish. which would later help her connect with diverse audiences worldwide. Music was a natural part of her life from the start, nurtured by a father who saw her potential and invested deeply in her training. Her father's unwavering dedication included enrolling her in music school, where she mastered the accordion, laying a solid foundation for her future career. Connie's early performances at local events and community gatherings showcased a rare talent that quickly set her apart. These formative experiences cultivated not only skill, but a fierce determination to rise above setbacks and skepticism. Her journey to stardom was not without obstacles. Early career attempts yielded little success, and she faced pressure both from within her family and the demanding music industry. The recording of Who's Sorry Now was not initially a hopeful endeavor for Connie. In fact, she disliked the song, yet her father insisted she give it a chance. This reluctant decision would prove pivotal. At first, Who's Sorry Now failed to make an impact, languishing in obscurity. The tide turned dramatically in 1958 when a popular television show featured the track, sparking a phenomenon. The song soared, selling over 1 million copies, and thrust Connie into a new realm of fame almost overnight. With success came the need to abandon personal dreams, such as medical school, to embrace the demanding life of a music star. This breakthrough pretty much defined Connie as more than just a singer. She sort of became a cultural icon, like that vibe of youthful rebellion mixed with romantic yearning. Her talent, plus charisma, made her a household name across America and beyond, and it felt like it happened fast. But under that meteoric rise, there was this growing pressure to do it again, to keep the fragile balance between what people expected of her and what was really going on in private. Her early relationships sort of tangled up with her burgeoning career. One standout connection was with fellow rising star Bobby Darin. Their partnership brought creative synergy, but it also stirred complicated personal feelings. Even if they never made it official, their bond still added this emotional depth and later heartbreak into the way her story gets told. And then there was family interference, especially from her protective father, which only made that delicate romance harder to hold together. Still, despite all that, Connie developed this sharp, almost business-smart awareness of the whole music industry. She worked closely with songwriters like Neil Sedaka and Howard Greenfield, guiding her repertoire toward upbeat hits that actually stuck with her audience. Songs like Stupid Cupid captured this youthful kick, and it reaffirmed her place on the charts. Plus, it gave her career trajectory this kind of revival energy. Her route from humble beginnings through breakout success shows a young artist fueled by natural talent and relentless ambition. But even then, the pressures that would later surface in some of her darkest moments were already quietly piling up. The contrast between public adoration and private complexity was starting to feel obvious, like you couldn't really miss it anymore. As her fame blossomed, Connie stepped into new roles beyond music, which would further complicate her life and image. Love and loss in the spotlight. Amid the whirlwind of her rising career, Connie Francis's personal life was a maze of passionate, often painful relationships that influenced her emotional well-being. Her romances were intense but frequently short-lived, shaped heavily by outside pressures and personal trauma. The clash between her desires and family expectations created emotional fault lines that reverberated throughout her life. Her love for Bobby Darin was one of the most significant, though unfulfilled, chapters in her personal story. Their chemistry was palpable, yet her father's vehement opposition prevented a lasting union. In a dramatic response, fueled by protectiveness and cultural values, he actively worked to separate them, ultimately chasing Darin away. This interference left Connie heartbroken and conflicted, caught between loyalty to family and personal happiness. The pain deepened when she learned that Darin married another woman, a revelation that sent her into a spiral of despair. Her diary entries from this period reveal a woman grappling with dark thoughts and emotional devastation. Years later, a reunion with Darin brought no healing. Instead, it ended abruptly when she walked in on him with 2 other women, igniting chaos and disillusionment. Romantic disappointments were mirrored in the instability of Connie's marriages. Her first union with press agent Dick Canellis was quick and short, ending within months amid mounting tension. This pattern repeated with businessman Izzy Marion, whose passionate but brief marriage collapsed in under a year. These rapid cycles of hope and heartbreak contributed to her emotional exhaustion. Her third marriage to Joseph Garzilli gave her this rare, hard-to-find kind of steadiness, but it was changed in a way that couldn't be repaired after her traumatic assault in 1974. That incident sort of cracked her whole sense of safety and who she was, and the emotional pullback that followed made things tense between them. Over time, it stretched their partnership until it turned into separation. Later on, Connie admitted how heavy the trauma was for the people closest to her, and she understood why help sometimes faded, not because they didn't care, just because it got harder. During all of these shaky, complicated relationships, Connie kept trying to match her public image with the private hurt underneath. The emotional chaos would knock down her professional confidence, but she kept performing anyway and kept building her artistry. That persistence became something like a signature trait, keeping her tied to fans even while her own personal world was unraveling. Her family connections mattered too. They were tied to tradition and culture, and they added even more weight to her romantic life. Italian-American values and a strict Catholic upbringing guided decisions, and in a subtle way shaped the parts she felt she had to inhabit. So there was this constant push between fitting in and choosing herself, and you could feel that tension echo through every relationship. The same repeating cycle of love and loss left both bruises and backbone. It showed her weak points, sure, but it also deepened her emotional life as a performer. Connie could sing heartbreak like it was something she truly knew, and a lot of that came from what she had lived through, so her voice stayed real, full of sharp feeling. As Connie's personal battles unfolded, her career soon faced a crisis stemming from forces beyond love and family. A brutal attack that would forever change the course of her life. The 1974 assault's aftermath. On the night of November 8, 1974, Connie Francis's life took a devastating turn. While staying at the Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge in Westbury, New York, a masked intruder broke into her hotel room. What began as a robbery quickly escalated into a brutal assault that left Connie battered, traumatized, and tied to a chair by the time help arrived. The attack robbed her not only of her physical safety, but also of her confidence, joy, and sense of security. Connie later described the chilling moments in vivid detail. Despite the terror, she tried to reason with her attacker, speaking as if he were a troubled man rather than a monster. She even mentioned her fame, hoping that fear of a high-profile investigation would spare her life. This desperate act of calm in chaos may have saved her, but it could not protect her spirit from the deep wounds that followed. The emotional aftermath was overwhelming. Connie, once a radiant and vibrant performer, fell into a profound depression. The assault shattered her ability to function normally, leaving her bedridden and lost within a fog of guilt and shame. The isolation was intensified by her strict Catholic upbringing, which branded trauma as something to be buried in silence, rather than openly confronted. Her close relationships suffered terribly as well. The very people who should have been her pillars of support faltered. Her father, who had long controlled many aspects of her professional life, coldly told her she was damaged goods. Her husband, Joseph Garzilli, initially stood by her, but eventually walked away, unable to witness her slow and painful unraveling. Connie later understood that no one can watch such profound suffering indefinitely. Professionally, the assault became this kind of tragic turning point. The vivid career she had built kinda started to stall. Right after she pulled herself back from the stage and public life, what once looked like a promising new chapter turned into this long, painful grind toward justice and healing. The man who attacked her was never caught, and that only made the whole thing feel more wrong, more raw, more exposed. Afterward, Connie took legal action. She sued the hotel for negligence, and eventually she won. Still, the legal win didn't really soothe the emotional scars that kept hanging on and not fading. The assault seemed to rearrange her identity too. It turned a woman who used to command the room into someone who feared stepping outside, like even leaving her home could set things off again. So it wasn't only physical trauma, it was a rupture through her whole world. During all of this, Connie held onto a flimsy hope, like returning to music might actually save her. She thought if she reclaimed her voice and got her stage presence back, then maybe she could patch herself up and maybe mend the relationships that got cracked. But the road to recovery was long and full of hidden hazards that she hadn't even met yet. This brutal chapter, really, is a stark reminder that violence can steal light from even the brightest stars, and it shows how survivors often meet silence at the exact moment they need clarity or understanding the most. Connie's courage in those dark days is what laid the groundwork for a remarkable journey. Resilience, reinvention, and still, somehow, pain mixed with progress. The ordeal that stripped her of safety and confidence soon led to an even more devastating blow, losing the very voice that defined her. Battle with her voice. After the trauma robbed Connie Francis of her peace, fate dealt another cruel hand. As she prepared to return to the stage, hoping music would heal her shattered spirit, she discovered her voice was gone. The instrument that had brought her fame, strength, and identity had inexplicably abandoned her, leaving her adrift and more lost than ever before. Determined to restore what she had lost, Connie underwent multiple nasal surgeries in hopes of reclaiming her full vocal range. Yet none of these medical interventions could completely repair the damage. Each day was a struggle as she grappled with the cruel irony of losing the very tool that had once defined her life and career. She confided, "I lost my mind already, and now I've lost my voice," words echoing the depths of her despair. For years, she chose to keep her vocal struggles a secret, even from close friends like Frank Sinatra. The secrecy was a protective shield against the judgment and pity she feared. But this silence backfired dramatically when Sinatra, unaware of her condition, asked her to sing Mama as a tribute to his late mother. Connie had to refuse, an agonizing moment she called the hardest thing she ever did, deepening her sense of isolation. Despite the darkness, by 1978, hints of recovery began to emerge. Encouraged, Connie threw herself back into music with renewed passion and experimentation. She explored disco and recorded songs in several languages, including Italian, Spanish, and Japanese, showing her adaptability and breadth as an artist. Her performance on American Bandstand's 30th anniversary special was a triumphant declaration that she could still rise, symbolically standing strong in the very town where she had once been brutalized. Yet, unresolved trauma and inner battles lingered beneath the surface. The 80s brought severe depression, leading to treatments including shock therapy. In 1984, overwhelmed by the weight of her pain, she attempted to end her life and slipped into a coma. Miraculously, Connie survived, but the experience forced her to confront wounds she had long buried too deeply. Her story of loss and recovery inspired plans for a biopic, but creative differences between Connie and producer Gloria Estefan prevented the project from moving forward. Connie insisted on authenticity, while the studio envisioned something different. This unrealized film left her extraordinary life without the cinematic tribute many believed it deserved. Through these trials, Connie's courage shone through. Losing her voice was not only a professional catastrophe, but a profound personal loss. Yet, she refused to let it silence her spirit. Her determination to reclaim her artistry embodied a resilience that transcended music itself. From shattered confidence to fragile hope and back again, Connie's battle with her voice reveals the immense human cost behind the glamour of a music career and the extraordinary will it takes to fight back from the brink. As Connie faced these deep setbacks, other shadows from her family's past would soon emerge, intertwining her personal pain with greater dangers beyond the stage. Mafia ties and family tragedy. Behind the glitz and glamour of Connie Francis's career lay a darker family connection. deep ties to organized crime that cast long shadows over her life. Her brother George walked a precarious line, functioning both as an associate within the mafia and as an informant to law enforcement. This double life put him in constant danger, caught between loyalty to family and the perilous demands of the underworld. It was a secret that weighed heavily on Connie, entangling her personal and professional worlds in ways few could imagine. The tension came to a tragic climax in 1981 when George was mysteriously shot and slain. The news shattered Connie's world, inflicting a grief compounded by the complicated nature of his hidden life. A brilliant lawyer by day and a mafia figure by night, George's double existence had ultimately cost him everything. His slaying was not just a personal loss for Connie, but a brutal reminder of the dangerous forces orbiting her family. The investigation that followed confirmed the worst fears, that the perilous balance George maintained had tipped fatally. Connie's grief was intensified by unanswered questions about who had betrayed her brother and why. This darkest chapter provided a painful glimpse into how inextricably tied Connie's fate had become to a world far removed from the stage lights she once commanded. Connie's connection to those dangerous circles got even more tangled, because she was also doing her own best to survive and protect the people she actually loved. Way before the tragedy, she had seen the shadowy stuff, the way trust just kinda disappears, and how survival became this constant navigation through a really treacherous landscape. Those ties weren't just some background detail either. They started shaping big choices, her personal safety, and even where her career seemed to go. All of this family turmoil played out while she was still dealing with her own struggles, so getting better from older hurts felt almost impossible. Losing her brother wasn't only grief, it was a wound that opened again old scars and added new kinds of vulnerability. Even in the dark, Connie kept turning her pain into resilience, like she could not fully silence her spirit just because tragedy showed up. Her life story really shows that intersection between entertainment success and the hidden threats that wait past the spotlight. Connie's experience suggests that personal loss and public triumph can live side by side, but they never do it peacefully. The outside battles she faced were every bit as fierce as the emotional ones she wrestled with inside herself. And yeah, these mafia ties and what came after them are a harsh reminder that celebrity life can get braided with forces far more dangerous than tabloid nonsense. Connie's struggle was never only about music or even personal tragedy. It was also about surviving in a place where loyalty and danger, almost like siblings, walked hand in hand. The trauma of losing her brother intensified her resolve and shaped the path she would take next, stepping into the public arena not only as an artist, but as a determined political voice, political activism, and public battles. The tragedies and trials of Connie Francis pushed her into a new role beyond music, that of a passionate and vocal political advocate. During the 80s and 90s, she emerged as a staunch supporter of conservative causes, using her platform to champion law and order, victims' rights, and American patriotism. Her activism was deeply personal, driven by her own experiences with violence and loss, as well as a lifelong commitment to values shaped by her upbringing. Connie's brother's slaying and her own brutal assault fueled a distrust of lenient criminal justice policies. This skepticism translated into fervent support for tough on-crime legislation and a determined voice at Republican national conventions. She campaigned for Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, frequently performing at rallies and fundraisers, leveraging her celebrity to highlight conservative ideals. One of her most defining moments came when she testified before Congress in the late 1980s in support of stronger protections for crime survivors. Sharing her personal ordeals, her testimony was an emotionally charged plea for justice and reform. She advocated for victims' rights legislation that aligned closely with the law and order platform dominating Republican politics at the time. Beyond criminal justice, Connie was some kind of committed anti-communist, and also an advocate for a sturdy national defense, kinda like a reflection of her Italian-American roots, in the Cold War vibe that everybody seemed to be breathing. She expressed worry about what she took to be a moral slipping in American entertainment, pointing at the surge of explicit material and sort of mourning the disappearance of what she called the golden age of culture. Her political involvement was, honestly, polarizing as it gets. Some folks admired her courage and her clean explanations, while critics said she was too quick, that she was flattening complicated social problems. Inside the entertainment world, a few people tried to keep distance from her outspoken conservatism, and in that way they showed the cultural cracks she came to represent. Still, Connie stayed unapologetic, framing her advocacy as a direct continuation of her survival mindset, fighting just as hard off stage as she did on it. Her shift from pop icon into political advocate showed how personal trauma can feed and shape ideological convictions in a pretty direct way. Connie's public fights didn't look like ambition only, more like a raw drive to turn pain into purpose. That new role gave her a stronger sense of agency in a world that had often felt like it couldn't be controlled. Even later, when she slowed down and scaled back on political appearances, she held on to this status as a symbol of the complicated overlap between Hollywood and conservatism. Connie Francis's story suggests that behind any big public image, there are layers of experience that refuse to be neatly categorized, mixing art, pain, and activism into one life narrative that feels unusually gripping. And her advocacy left a mark that wasn't only about chart-topping tunes, it was about an unrelenting resolve to tell the powerful what's really going on. So in the end, her story was as much courage as it was survival. The battles she fought in politics mirrored those in her personal life, fierce, complicated, and deeply human. Endurance and legacy. Connie Francis's life was a remarkable symphony of triumphs and tragedies, each note revealing her extraordinary resilience. Despite the relentless challenges she endured, from a vicious assault to losing her voice, and the devastating loss of her brother, she never allowed those blows to silence her. Instead, she repeatedly rose from despair, redefining what it means to survive in an industry that often discards its most vulnerable stars. Her journey was marked by constant reinvention. After losing her iconic voice, she embraced new musical styles, recorded in multiple languages, and even explored acting with notable success. These efforts were not only professional adaptations, but personal battles to reclaim a sense of identity and purpose. Connie's ability to evolve in the face of adversity showcased a rare tenacity that inspired both fans and fellow artists. Beyond the spotlight, her story also highlighted the complexities behind fame. Connie wrestled not only with her own trauma, but with the harsh realities of family loyalties, mafia entanglements, and a music industry that could be unforgiving. These layers added depth to her legacy, revealing how survival often depends on navigating treacherous personal and professional terrain simultaneously. Her outspoken political activism later in life further demonstrated her fierce spirit. Becoming a vocal advocate for victims' rights and conservative causes, Connie transformed personal pain into public purpose. She used her experience to give voice to others silenced by violence and injustice, reinforcing the idea that true strength often grows from vulnerability. Despite the hardships, Connie's influence on music and culture remains undeniable. Her hits helped define a generation, and her multilingual recordings connected with diverse audiences worldwide. Yet, her legacy is also a testament to resilience, the capacity to face overwhelming odds and keep moving forward, even when the darkness seems impenetrable. Her life story kind of refuses easy labeling. It's not only a neat tale of fame or scandal, but some layered account of love, loss, struggle, and then getting back up again. Connie Francis kind of shows us that being successful isn't measured just by trophies or those chart-topping hits, but by the stubborn nerve to keep going when the world tries to shut you down or act like you don't exist. In an industry that often prefers the surface look more than the real substance, Connie's readiness to face ugly facts really stands out. She didn't just keep things private. She shared trauma out in the open. And later, she even testified before Congress. That meant she pushed back on a whole culture of silence and invisibility, the kind that can surround survivors. Her drive to speak out adds, almost like a missing page that finally gets added, to how we think about celebrity, resilience, and advocacy. Over time, she scaled back the public appearances, but the impact of her life kept spreading anyway. She still feels like a signpost for people who are dealing with personal demons, while the public pressure keeps piling on. And it's still her reminder that behind every bright star, there's a real person carrying battles nobody sees from the spotlight. In the end, Connie Francis's legacy is about lasting courage. Her voice may have wavered at times, but her spirit, it never really quit. Through all the highs and the lows, she showed the world this idea that resilience isn't about never cracking. It's about not agreeing to stay cracked. Connie Francis's life is a powerful story of survival, resilience, and unwavering spirit amid overwhelming trials. Her journey reveals the hidden battles behind fame and the strength it takes to keep rising. If her story moved you, please like this video and subscribe for more stories of extraordinary lives. Thank you for watching.